Hey, it's Dr. J, and guess what? It's SAC, Success Seat. And today I've been trying to pin this woman down for a while now. She's incredibly busy, works with numerous businesses in her portfolio. And I'm absolutely so excited about asking her some of these questions because Dee McKee's actually been in the industry for a very long time. And I've had the delight of knowing Dee and seeing what she's actually achieved. And it's been absolutely astounding. Every place she goes to, every business she has anything to do with, have multiples of increases in their sales. But also one of her other incredible skill sets that she's learned over the years is her leadership skills. She works with a number of people. I'm not just talking one or two, we're talking 20, 30, 50, 100 people. And she is responsible for their results. So today's a little bit about not just what to do in sales, but also in a leadership component. So welcome, Dee. I really appreciate you spending the time with us today.
Thank you, and thank you for the kind words and the great welcoming. It's very humbling.
Oh, look, we've known each other for many, many years, and I
Yes.
always sit down and watch what you do. And you're a woman of just, yep, get it done. And hey, guys, let me just tell you, when Dee says she's going to do something, she bloody does it. So it's no holding back. So
No.
I want to find out a little bit, just a Reader's Digest version, because you've had a very illustrious career.
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
Your journey so far, how did you get involved in this thing called sales and management?
So I started out as a sort of an elite athlete when I was younger, and obviously then moved straight into the health and fitness industry because I just needed to stay in something that was going to benefit me, but obviously benefit other people. And then obviously my parents used to tell me I had to go and get a real job. So I tried, because the fitness industry wasn't a real job. So I went and tried all of these different things, and I went and did real estate and hospitality, and realized that they just weren't for me. So I ended up, I was always good at selling. I was always good at chatting to people about, what they needed to do. And then inevitably they would buy something and I'd go, how did I do that? And then I worked for a company called Fitness First for a large amount of time. And they had a very structured and honed sales process in which I learned a large amount of sales skills and realized, all of that rapport building and all that communication stuff that I was sort of doing now made sense as to why I was attracting people. So then I realized that, people just needed to learn how to communicate and people would buy a product. So obviously over years, I've just honed those skills.
Well, you certainly have honed those skills. And what business are you with now?
Core 24 Health Clubs. So we have 5 health clubs on the Mornington Peninsula.
And you're with a quite a seasoned veteran as far as the director is concerned, and
yes.
You've got so actually had the delight of working with some of your managers, and you certainly picked some outstanding people. So, what is the secret of finding good quality people to do the things that you teach them, because you do boot camps regularly and so forth, and impart and empower? What's some of the secrets of finding the best people?
So for me, it comes down to them as a person. So obviously I disc profile everybody when they first come in, just so I can see who they are and whether they're applying for the right positions. And for me, it's not so much having the experience as such. Sometimes a lot of people haven't had the experience, because for us, we will nurture them, take them through the process, teach them what we need to do. We do regular training with the team, and we organically grow people into our positions. So I think that's a little bit of part of our success as well, because people come on the journey with us along the way, and they embrace what our values are.
Look, and it certainly is a proof of the pudding. You move people around, and you're very, very skilled at knowing what their skills are and where their weaknesses are, and you then pinpoint what their weaknesses are, and then they become better. Now, whether they're a salesperson or a manager.
Yeah.
For the guys out there that have a business, that a lot of business owners that are in the Sales Authority Club and also with Impact Training, what would be one thing that you would say that you must do when nurturing a leader to be able to impart and empower their team?
You need to, for me, it's focusing on the things that they weren't necessarily good at and giving them the confidence in those areas. So it was lots of training, but it also came down to inspecting what I expected. So at the end of the day, I couldn't expect them to do something if I wasn't actually following up, and also not expecting them to do something that they weren't necessarily skilled at. So it always came down to praising them as well, and recognizing the jobs that they were actually doing were good, and especially the ones where they learn a new skill set and they nailed it, and then going, wow, how good did that feel, and just getting them that momentum.
Look, I wanted to hear what guys listen to what Dee's saying. She looks for an opportunity to praise. Now, Dee will be testimony to this, where praise will always get people to do more, and criticism will actually get them to feel bad about themselves. So hear what she's saying here. She trains them in their weakness, and then acknowledges and inspects what she expects. And I think that's a big rock just to start off with, and especially for budding leaders in our Sales Authority Club. So that's a big takeaway. So thanks for that. I appreciate it. Now, we've been working together for some time, but now you and your team now are in the Sales Authority Club. And I must say, some of the results you've achieved in driving your team has just been fantastic, especially with all of the shifting and stuff that you had to do. Outstanding. Yeah. And you're a multitasking queen. But what was one of the reasons that you joined the club? What was a problem or a challenge that you needed some help with?
So for me, it was realizing that I necessarily couldn't do everything on my own. And I wanted the guys to have access to the best information. So for me, I'd been very privileged to have access to impact training in a lot of organizations that I'd worked for. And for me, it was giving them that access and giving them access to another person or information that reinforced what we were teaching. So, I follow a lot of the processes that obviously I've been shown over the years. And it was a reinforcement. So it wasn't me getting up there and saying it all the time, it was them. And it also gave them the confidence to go, if they're not 100% certain on something, they could go into the SAC and get the information out. And it allowed them to access the files and the information and the training, so they weren't actually relying on me. It would be, hey Dee, got this issue, what do you think we need to do? And I'd go, I'm sure it's in the SAC, go and have a look at it. And then that gave them empowerment, that, and my team has actually grown from that, because they're now empowered and know that they have the tools to empower their own team.
Well, you certainly have reinforced it quite regularly. I know you say, well, go into SAC, have a look, bring it back, and let's have a bo peep. And it's interesting, I use the analogy of mum and dad tell you to do things, and you're the mum that tells them what to do. But then they go to a friend's house and they say, oh, so-and-so's mum said to do this. It's exactly what you said, but they've heard it from a different person and they think it's a great idea. So
yes,
it's sometimes the same thing, but it's just said a little bit differently. And, you and I are on very much the same page on the processes, and you're always sharpening your axe and you're always a can-do, but you might say it, then they might not do it. We then just actually have that communication, we get the outcome, don't we?
We do, definitely. And it's good because they embrace it a lot more when it comes from somebody else as well.
So there are lots of things we do in the SAC. We have have our monthly workshops now, then we have our quarterly big event, and we have our check-in calls on a Monday, and then we have our Sales Authority implementation program, and also the accountability. So I always like to ask everybody, what are 3 parts of the SAC that you found has had the biggest impact for you and your team? And what's your favorite part of it?
The quarterly workshops, which are now obviously monthly, were a good part, because it allowed you to realize and see, like, you got to meet other people, but it also got you to realize what you did know as well, because it's like, it's not your team telling you something, or, somebody saying, hey, this. It's somebody else that you don't necessarily know going, oh, well, thanks for that. I took something away from that, which was really good. And then the follow-up, like the role plays and the stuff like that, like just the constant support is something that I find really great, especially for me, but also for my team. So, there's some great things, and just access to the information. Like, you just don't get that anywhere.
Oh, true. And it's great. I mean, you're amazing. We'll have phone calls at 8:30, 9 o'clock night, because you're a busy mum as well, and you've got a whole lot of other people that you work with, and you're always ready to have that conversation. It's never never too late. So I really appreciate that. And sometimes we have a good long conversations
We
where,
do. Yeah.
look, lots of skills, and you're a master at certain nuances and skill sets. But I'd like to ask, what is one of the skill sets that you found most useful, or strategy that you've learned in the SAC?
Communication skills, and just that whole thing around rapport building, because just opening up the conversation. Like, people find it really difficult just to say hi, how are you, have that conversation. And just some of the little techniques that are in there that you go, oh, that just opened up that whole conversation. Like, 5 whys and what, how. Like, I engaged that into my team, and they just like embraced it, and the whole shift in them was amazing. It was like, because they realized that having that conversation that they feared was now pretty easy, just learning some questioning techniques and communication skills.
So the selling is just having a conversation, and sometimes we just have a little process and we can put into place. And I must say, when we do our one-on-ones with the guys and do some of the role plays, they do take it on board, and they like the soft skills as well as the hard skills. And sometimes I feel that once they learn a skill, and you do a lot of training there, it's putting those soft skills that makes all the difference. And your team, you pick the right people, are big doers and implementers. Yes. So numbers, you're a big numbers lady, and I understand that you drive. I saw your spreadsheet you sent me a little while ago. Goodness, guys, you should see it. It's this woman does leave no stone unturned in a whole process, where she'll then take the pieces that are important to drive her team. But I'd love to get some feedback from you, since working in the SAC. What's some of the numbers and outcomes that you've achieved that have worked well for you? Like numbers, close rates, show rates. What's happened there?
It's just obviously some of the close rates across the club have grown. To going from sort of 60% closes up to 80% closes. One of my sales girls, had I think a week or 2 weeks where she did 100% close, just on learning the tools that she actually used. So, and the contact to appointment ratio. So we're a bit fortunate the way that we market, that we do get a large amount of internet leads coming through, but we weren't necessarily getting the return on those. So, it was a little bit of a tweaking with some scripts that we got from the SAC, and training the guys and what to do when, and they've actually grown from, sometimes they were as low as 22%, and now they're sitting at 40 to 44%. So we've sort of doubled those, which is quite significant in getting our people through the doors. So, we do focus on a lot of numbers and stuff like that, but it's like getting the people into the door. Like, we don't want to waste our marketing money and getting the leads in and not converting. So, that first initial step, because once we've built rapport and followed the scripts and got them engaged and got them emotional, well, they were showing up to buy. So inevitably, once we closed that, our close rate increased.
This is what Dee just said. They show up, but they show up to buy. And I remember we did a little workshop just on some telephone stuff, and we wanted to make sure the person showed, but they wanted to buy. And you implemented everything and made it your own, because you always take the stuff and it's a process, but you make it core, make it D's, and then it impart and empower it.
Yeah.
It's great working with people that do. I mean, people that say they're gonna, or are buts, sometimes do my head in.
No, and the staff appreciate it, because they, they're in a role because they love it and they want to succeed, and and we just give them the tools that they need, and they just, like, it totally changes them, and then we get the outcome.
So it's actually, the team are going well, even through this COVID times. But I always believe that learning, and you hit the nail on the head with the communication skills. So if we look at it, how has it helped you, a D Proprietary Limited, personally, as well as in business? How has it helped you in particular?
Well, years ago, I did not know anything about communication skills at all. And I used to come down on my staff pretty hard on certain things, and just had no idea how to communicate with them at all. And I was a bit fortunate that my regional manager at the time sort of said, hey, you know, we're going to give you some time out, which at the time I was like, oh my God, am I going to like lose my job? But she gave me some books to read and things I needed to do, which really got me around the communication side of things. And I realized, and she made me take away 5 takeaways of the things that I needed to work on. And I just realized that, you know, speaking to people in a way that, you know, isn't talking down to them was like something that I was like, oh, okay, this is all new to me. And then over time, I just honed those communication skills. I've done a lot of work over the years, and I'm not talking the last 2 or 3 years, I'm talking the last probably 20 years, in fine tuning those communication skills. And it's one of the things that, you know, when I train staff on a boot camp, I do a whole day on rapport building, a whole day just for them to learn the basic communication skills and all the little steps that I didn't have that I learned, because that was what if I had had that years ago, I wouldn't have yelled at my staff or done all the horrible things that I don't do now, because, you know, communication to me was the key to everything.
Well, I must say, when I speak to your team members, your managers, they really, you're endeared to them. They really respect you, but also I know that you are quite good at acknowledging their effort and then rewarding a consistency. But it's they don't go running to the manager or the boss and say, oh, you're amazing, but they certainly tell me, and it's a testimony when it comes through from third party. So this is not just Dee saying that's what she does. I'm proof of the pudding that they actually acknowledge what Dee does as far as a communication. Sure, she's a tough manager with a result, but she actually does it in a manner which they go away empowered. So it's kudos to you, Dee. Well done.
Thank you.
So I want to ask you a simple question here. Would you recommend the Sales Authority Club to anybody, and why?
Most definitely. I mean, I constantly sort of talk about the Sales Authority Club all the time, and it's more so from the support, like even from a manager. Like, you know, one of the main reasons I went to my director was the fact that I didn't have really a go-to person. So for me, it was like I needed somebody to go to talk about numbers and talk about this, and hey, this isn't working and that's not working. And, you know, you don't get that judgment of, oh, well, why did you do it that way and why didn't you listen to me? It was like, well, how did that work for you? And how could we get a better outcome? So it was looking at what we were doing and having that better outcome. So the support, you just can't fault. And the training, like sometimes we don't have enough time to constantly train all the time, and, you know, and invest that time in your managers and your team, whereas this actually allows them to jump onto the monthly trainings and take away little takeaways. And, you know, you then just go in and do what you do best. Like I can go in and use my genius and go in and retrain and re-emphasize what they learned in that one session. And, you know, so you can't, to me, that's invaluable. Like there is no price you can actually put on that.
Well, thanks for the kind words. And can't be done without someone that's a doer. And I'm always saying this word, the doers actually create outcomes. And for the many years we've known each other, you've always been a doer. And guys, if you reach out to Dee, she's a busy woman, but find out some stuff that she does. She doesn't just work on herself, she works on empowering others. And as we all know, when you empower others, you learn it 5 times faster. So reach out to her. She's she's a really cool chick, but also she'll cut to the chase. She won't beat around the bush. She'll tell you what needs to be done.
No.
Okay, now you've had an amazing career, and as we progress, we always have some fantastic big wins in sales or in business. I'd love you to tell everybody what's one of your biggest wins in business that you're most proud of.
One of my biggest wins was working with a health club chain a few years ago, or, you know, quite a few years ago, that, you know, they were sitting down the bottom of their like leaderboard in the state. You know, they were, you know, and this is 70 clubs that they were sitting down the bottom, and all they wanted was somebody to implement some processes and engage them. And, you know, they didn't know numbers. They had no idea what a P&L was. They didn't understand anything about ratios. And I went in and basically implemented the most basic strategies that we could do to not scare them off. And we focused on referrals, and they ended up in the space of like 3 months going from the bottom to the top.
Whoa.
Yeah. Yeah, and they literally became number one for referrals. Their trainers became, number one. I can remember going to the award ceremony and just sitting back going, "You go, girl!" Like, well done, because they embraced it though. They didn't want to lose their business. They loved what they did. They just didn't have the skill sets or the knowledge to do it. So to me, that was sort of one of the biggest achievements. And when they were asked, what did you do? Like, what did you do? And they were just like, we listened to our BDM. She told us what to do and we just implemented. But again, they were doers. They wanted to do it and they embraced it, and their team embraced it because their team started to get acknowledged. Their team got rewarded. The owners, weren't cranky anymore. They were actually got some time back because they empowered the team. So they were spending 80 hours plus in the business, not on the business. And all we did was we took it out that they could work on the business and let everybody else work in the business. And we got the results.
So if we get the specificity of what they did, if we tell our listeners, we say they did it, what was one or two of the things that you empowered them to do? I think you said drive their numbers, and we'll probably watch them daily and referrals. What do they actually do with the numbers, and what do they actually do to make sure referrals were so successful?
Yeah, so obviously they looked at like how many leads they were coming in, but we implemented a reward system. Yeah, we had a little bit of competition amongst the team. Like, they took the staff out. If they hit a certain target, they went out to dinner, but they did it as a team. So, yes, there was a couple of little individual recognitions, but it was more the team. Yeah, but the team understood the numbers. So it wasn't the owner. The first thing we did was we actually had a meeting with everybody. Yeah, all the trainers, all the staff, and said, this is what we want to do. It's not going to be scary. We're going to teach you the processes that you need to know, baby steps at a time. And we're going to build on it. And the staff learnt the numbers. So it wasn't us cracking whips going, da, 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 da. They learnt the numbers. They embraced the numbers. And then they asked questions. So then they got empowered to grow, and they could see the members were happy. Like the members shifted, the members changed because the staff changed. We got positive feedback forms instead of negative feedback forms. So everybody just got empowered.
So by actually empowering them with saying, well, we need this many members to be profitable, but also we need to have show rates and close rates. So using that Hawthorne principle of measuring the numbers daily, so they were proud of them. And that's a hard job. And then you then said, well, we want to give a great customer care so we can get positive referrals, and then we'll reward you if you did. Is that right?
Yeah. And the staff managed up. Like we had a strat board that we would write and record the figures every day. And if it wasn't done, the staff actually managed up. They came to the manager and the owners and went, okay, well, where are our stats from the weekend? They're not up yet. What did we do? What happened? So everybody in the club embraced it.
That's complete ownership, guys. Listen to this. Teach and empower, taking the little steps to teach them the numbers, but then to give them a skill, but then hold them accountable, but let them be proud of their numbers. And then they will ask, or then they can say, look at our numbers, not the manager saying, get better numbers. Wow, that's a golden nugget for this morning for all of our leaders out there and drivers of business. That's great. So let's go back in a time machine now. I like doing this. If we would say we've got all this knowledge, all these experiences, successes, failures, lessons, and so forth, we can go back 10 or maybe 15 years to Dee, younger self. What would be some advice you would give her?
To always keep learning. Yeah, because you don't know everything, and embrace every situation that you've come, good or bad, because there is a learning out of everything that you do. Not everything's the mistakes that you made, what did you learn from them? And you will learn stuff. So, I would tell my younger version just to embrace everything, and every opportunity that you're given, say yes.
So if there was one learning in particular that you'd say, wow, with all this experience, I'm going to take it back to younger Dee. What's one learning that you would say, a skill or a strategy or a way of thinking or a communication? What would that be?
To honor you.
Nice. to honor yourself.
Yeah. Yeah.
Guys,
To honor and nurture yourself. Take the time out to meditate, go for walks, do whatever you do. But unless you honor yourself and reward yourself, life becomes sometimes that little bit hard. But you honor yourself and reward yourself. That's the biggest thing that I would say to my younger self that I didn't do then, that I do now religiously.
Great. Very wise. Whether the young guns are bulletproof, they don't just keep going forward. They don't just say.
Yeah, I thought I was bulletproof at 30, and I ended up with chronic fatigue and got sick, and I thought I was like just this like invincible machine because I didn't honor myself, and I took a big learning away from that.
All right.
And now I honor myself.
Good, and so you should. You've done a lot. So let's talk about success strategies. What's a must-do success strategy for a sales professional to do? What's it like? Something that's worked best for you?
For me, the biggest thing for me is inspecting what I expect every day.
Nice. There you are. Nice and simple. I told you she'd get straight to the point. Inspect the numbers, make sure you're accountable and accountable to someone, not just yourself. And people say, I'll be accountable to yourself. For me, that doesn't work. You've got to be accountable to the numbers and to report it to someone. So inspect what you expect and then expect it. Yeah. Great. Perfect. Do's and don'ts now. For a salesperson. Now, you've been a rookie. Now you're a seasoned veteran and you're in partner in power. But if you are talking to a salesperson, what's one thing? Now, I'll assume that inspect your numbers would be one, but what's one thing they must do on a daily and a weekly basis?
They must train themselves. They have to, and they have to take time out for themselves. So how are they going to reward themselves when they achieve their goals? So again, acknowledgement and, how did they like to be acknowledged? But understanding that, they need to be in peak performance to produce peak results.
Great. Now, on the other side of the equation, in sales, there's lots of things that we should never do, shouldn't do. From your experience, what would that be?
Don't go in with a big stick and don't, we don't have this, we don't have that. What are we going to do about it? Because that's not going to produce results. Your team is a reflection of you. So, go in there and empower them. Don't go in there and yell at them.
Okay. So as from a leader's perspective, go in and look at how you can help them, because everyone wants to succeed, don't they, at the end of the day? And so look what they're doing. And if you can get them to make their target and budget, celebrate with them. But if they're not succeeding, don't beat them with a stick. Say, what can we do to help you?
And show them what to do. Like I know in my club that, or clubs that, when they don't close somebody, they have to come and show me their form and we chat about it. And why couldn't they actually, what happened to them? So every time that they can't do something or they've had that little failure, we work on what can we do next time that doesn't happen and how we can improve that. So I don't go, what did you do wrong? Why didn't they join? It's, okay, how did we handle that and what can we do better next time?
Nice, because, and I just want to make sure everyone knows what you do, because finding out what that problem is, a lot of managers or people just quickly say, you should do this. But what you do is you say, how can we do it differently? And then what you have done is say, well, now let's do it. So you go into a learning. So that training doesn't work, is actually find out what it is and then do the practice. And
role play on it.
Absolutely.
And we role play daily, every single day.
Okay, so in sales, you've closed thousands of people in your world, and I know your team do, but let's just talk about you.
Yeah.
What's one strategy that you've used that works brilliantly for you to get an outcome?
One of the things I learned very quickly, and I use it all the time, is when you ask for the sale, shut up.
That's awesome. That's awesome.
Yeah. Because I never used to, and the silence used to kill me. And the first thing I would say is, so do you have any other questions? Can I help you with something? And because I never knew the whole, once they ask the question, be quiet. And as soon as I learnt that, it was like, okay. And that's the one thing, and I say it to my team all the time, as uncomfortable as it is, just let them think.
And I must say that because you're a communicator, you're an energetic energizer bunny, and it's really hard just to not to say something with that silence.
Mm-hmm.
But learning that skill and being comfortable in that silence is gold. You're absolutely right. They keep talking in their head, and if the next person to talk usually owns the product. So guys, take that on board. Go through your closing sequence, get the people to ask, and then shut up. I mean, what a great nugget to take away. Okay, now we're going to go down to the other field side of the fence. I believe we learn fastest and quickest with mistakes, challenges, and all setbacks.
Yep.
We've all had them. And I know for a fact with myself, my biggest mistakes have been my biggest learning experiences, and I've taken away lessons. I'd love to know one that you'd share with us, a specific mistake or challenge you had, a setback, and what was the lesson and how did you overcome it?
I suppose one of the biggest setbacks for me was being overlooked for a promotion into a management position. And it came down to the fact that at the time I thought I knew everything. Yeah. And I didn't. And I didn't actually know my numbers. I was younger, and I didn't know my numbers. And when I actually said to the regional manager that interviewed me, I said, why didn't I get the position? Why was I overlooked? And she's like, well, you don't know your numbers. She said, you're great at selling and you're good at everything else that you do, and you write high numbers, but you don't know the important numbers. And she said, so if you want to grow, you need to know the important numbers. And they were like, obviously, our DD numbers, our growth numbers, our everything. She said, everything that's going to impact the business. She said, sales is just such a small component. She said, but your numbers are important to the growth of everybody in your club. And from that was a massive learning. And for me, after that, I learnt my numbers.
Well, you certainly you know your numbers inside and out. And if anybody would like to have a chat with you about what are the key performance indicators that you measure, I would strongly recommend that you have a quick chat with Dee, and she'll show you what she does. And less is best in some cases, but from a management point of view, you've got to know the micros, and that's what helps you do your training. So
yes,
what a great learn. And boy, I must say you took on that lesson, and gee, what you do now, you know your numbers backwards. So well done.
Yeah, it was hard at the time. It was like, okay, big gulp in the throat, but that was my biggest learning.
So we're coming to the end of our chin wag. Gee whiz, I could talk to you for hours about all this stuff, but let's talk about we've got some rookies and we've got some seasoned veterans in the Authority Club and in our clan. So I'd love to get one big rock advice for the rookie and the seasoned veteran, just one piece of advice to help them grow and become the best version of themselves. What would it be?
To always reach out and ask for help and ask for support, because sometimes hearing it from somebody else's perspective just puts it into perspective. There's times where I will go, it's just not gelling, and why isn't it gelling? And then I speak to somebody else because I'm not too scared to reach out to somebody and ask for help. And they get it from a different perspective, and it changes everything. It changes the outcome, because sometimes you're laser focused on this result that you don't look out to the sides. And sometimes you need that person to go, look out here, just don't look here. So be open to ask for support and help when you need it.
That's beautiful. Guys, listen to what Dee's saying. She said, get rid of the ego, just let it go. Don't say, I know, because the enemy of learning is knowing, but just ask for help. Go outside your inner circle to your outer circle.
Yeah.
That's why you can go to guys in the SAC, say, I'm having a problem here, and ask for that question. Call me, call Dee. Ask for some help, because sometimes they don't own the process. They could look at it from a helicopter's point of view, and you get some nuggets that way. That's absolutely fabulous advice. So wise.
Yeah.
Really, I mean, that would be the next question I was going to ask. What would you need to do to excel in sales? And I would suggest that should be ask for some help. Do your role play.
Ask for help. Yeah. And constantly role play. And, learn to embrace role play, because role play is not there for you to be judged. It's there for you to learn. And your manager's not going to go, oh my God, that sounded terrible. It's like, okay, great, let's work on this and let's improve this. And no one really loves role play, but the more you practice, drill, rehearse, the better you become.
Guys, listen to what Dee just said. Role play, or PDR, is not to judge you. Now hear what she says. It's not to judge you. It's the place to fail. That's why we go to soccer training, football training. So we miss, and then we get better, and then you can score the goal. So that's a beautiful statement. Role play, or PDR, is not to judge you. It's actually to make you better. And the way we do it in the SAC, and way Dee does it, I'm sure it's actually, they do it in chunks, and we do it in small chunks, and then we do it over and over again with repetition. But it's not to judge you. It's to help you. Oh. See that wisdom coming out? I just love that. So where to for Dee for the next couple of years? What's some of your goals and your dreams?
I have a very big passion for mindset work. So I've done a lot of mindset work and stuff like that. So, my passion and goal is that, a lot of people don't achieve what they want to achieve because they don't believe in themselves, or they don't believe they can. So, my actual focus is to, be able to set up workshops and events just to help people become the best version of themselves and not have the restrictions. So I love what I do in the health and fitness industry, and that's always going to be like where I am. But, you can help so many more people when, you get them to empower themselves, and people don't. People don't empower themselves. So that's my big goal. That's my big dream, is to help people do that.
Well, with all your experience and what you've gone through, and all of your successes and some of your challenges, you've got a wonderful mindset. You've got a can-do, but you've got a kindness about your mindset too. So guys, if you're wanting to learn a little bit about mindset, this is the woman to go to. She is absolutely brilliant at it, phenomenal with her team, and she's learned to nurture herself. I've known Dee for a very long time, and she's an absolute machine. And I'm just music to my ears to see that she does look after herself now and her family. And she also looks after her team, but she also understands that she has to nurture herself, and that mindset. I think it would be wonderful for people to reach out with you, get some golden nuggets.
Most definitely.
When you have a workshop on, let us know, because I'm sure some of our guys would love to come along to that. Most definitely. Well, look, absolutely delightful. I know you're incredibly busy. You've got all your things of reopening and stuff like that. So thanks so much for your time today. And everyone's got to know Dee a little bit more. Yeah. Wonderful. It's been great. Thank you for joining me. And they can reach out at any time. My phone is always on. Yes, I know that's the case. So if they're going to want to contact you, what's the best way? My mobile is always good. It's always on. So they can always give me a call, or they can shoot me an email. Okay. So nice and slowly. Yeah. So we're going to run next. Every guy, go get all the girls and guys, go get your pen. Yep. Nice and slowly. What's your mobile number? Yep. So my mobile number is 042797 3709. Right. One more for the slow people like myself. What is it again? Yep. 042797 3709. Love it. And the best email to get you on? I better not drive up my work email. They can email my personal email, which is Deidre. So I'll spell that to you. So it's DEIDRE L McKee, so it's MCKEE @gmail.com. Wonderful. Absolute golden nuggets galore, and so much great advice. And so thanks so much for coming out and in your busy time. So thanks for chatting to me. I've loved it. It's been terrific. Yeah. I really appreciate your time, Dee. Really. All good. Thank you. Bye. Okay. See you. All right, gang. How good is that? There's a seasoned veteran that does the damage. She seasoned veteran does the sales, knows how to sell. She knows how to sell anything, follows a process, but she's gone through a learning, and now she's a leader of many, many people. And she imparts and empowers, not just with the stick and numbers, but also with kindness. I strongly recommend that you connect with Dee and share some of your nuggets with her, because she's a learner, as you hear, but it's also very, very good to actually listen to someone that's done the damage. So thanks for joining us today, and get ready for another SAC success seat in a not too distant future. I'll see you when you're a bit older. Bye for now.